There are many women in the world, and I have had the privilege of speaking with over 1,000 of them, only to discover one thing. What do they really want in bed? Many women have told me personal things about what they specifically like, but I can assure you that they share many desires in common, many desires that men are unaware of. I'm going to tell you all about this in detail, and by the end of this video, you'll understand everything you ever needed to know. Let's start with something that almost every single woman mentioned in some form or another. They want you to slow down. I know that sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but here's what women actually mean by this. It's not just about taking more time before sex starts. It's about understanding that women's arousal works completely differently from men's. While a man can be ready in moments, a woman's body and mind need time to build that anticipation and desire. Think of it like this. For men, arousal is like flipping a light switch. For women, it's like slowly turning up a dimmer. And here's the important part. If you rush through that process, you're essentially skipping the very thing that makes intimacy enjoyable for her. Women told me they feel pressured when a man seems to be racing toward the finish line. They feel like their pleasure isn't important, like they're just along for the ride. One woman put it perfectly when she said she wants to feel like her partner is savoring every moment with her, not just trying to get somewhere. So, what does slowing down actually look like? It means spending more time on connection before things become physical. It means extending foreplay far beyond what you might think is necessary. Most men think 5 or 10 minutes of foreplay is enough. The women I spoke with said they want 20, 30, even 40 minutes sometimes. And during that time, they don't want you to be goal-oriented. They want you to be present, exploring, enjoying the journey itself. When you slow down, you're communicating something powerful to her. You're saying that her pleasure matters, that you're not in a hurry, that being with her is the destination, not just a means to an end. The second thing women desperately want is emotional connection before physical connection. This came up in almost every conversation I had. Women told me that the best sex they've ever had happened when they felt emotionally close to their partner first. Now, this doesn't mean you need to have a deep philosophical conversation every single time before being intimate. What it means is that women need to feel seen, heard, and valued as a person before they can fully open up physically. Here's what this looks like in practice. If you've been distant all day, barely talking to her, not showing interest in her thoughts or feelings, and then suddenly become affectionate when you want sex, she's going to feel used. She's going to feel like you only value her for her body. But if you've been emotionally present throughout the day, asking about her day, really listening when she talks, showing affection without any agenda, then when intimacy happens, it feels like a natural extension of that emotional connection. Several women told me about their partners coming home from work and immediately checking their phones, watching TV, or doing their own thing, showing no interest in connecting. Then later that evening, they'd make a move in the bedroom and seem confused when their partner wasn't interested. The truth is, for most women, foreplay starts hours before you actually get to the bedroom. It starts with how you treat her throughout the day. A woman wants to feel like you desire her as a complete person, not just her body. She wants to know that you find her interesting, that you value her thoughts and opinions, that you enjoy her company. When she feels that emotional connection, the physical connection becomes so much more powerful. One woman told me that the sexiest thing her husband does is ask her thoughtful questions about her life and actually remember her answers. That kind of attention and care translates directly into better intimacy. Now let's talk about something that might make some men uncomfortable, but it's absolutely crucial. Women want you to communicate and ask what they like. So many women told me they feel like their partners are just guessing in the bedroom, trying things they've seen in movies or read about somewhere, without ever actually asking what feels good for them specifically. Here's the reality. Every woman is different. What worked with your last partner might not work with your current one. What you read in an article might not apply to the woman you're with. And unless you ask, you're just operating on assumptions. Many men avoid asking because they think it will break the mood or make them seem inexperienced. But women told me the exact opposite. They find it incredibly attractive when a man is confident enough to ask what they like. It shows maturity, consideration, and a genuine interest in their pleasure. Now, you don't have to turn it into an interview. You can ask in the moment in a natural way. Something as simple as, "Does this feel good?" or "Do you like it when I do this?" can make all the difference. Pay attention to her responses, both verbal and nonverbal. But here's the other side of communication that's equally important. Women want you to tell them what you like too. They want that dialogue to be open and honest. Many women told me they feel like they're performing in the bedroom, trying to figure out what their partner wants without any guidance. When you communicate openly about what you enjoy, it takes the pressure off her to guess, and it creates an environment where both of you can be authentic. Communication also means checking in sometimes about the bigger picture. Not necessarily in the moment, but having conversations about your intimate life when you're not in the bedroom. What's working? What could be better? What would you both like to try? These conversations can feel awkward at first, but women consistently told me that when couples can talk openly about intimacy, everything improves. Here's something that nearly every woman emphasized. They want more focus on their entire body, not just the obvious areas. Most men, when they think about pleasing a woman, immediately think about specific zones. But women told me that one of the most common mistakes men make is treating intimacy like a checklist, quickly touching certain areas and then moving on to sex. The truth is, a woman's entire body is sensitive and responsive to touch. Her neck, her back, her arms, her thighs, even her hands and feet. Women want you to explore, to take your time discovering what makes her respond. They want to feel like you're fascinated by their body, not just focused on getting to the main event. Think about how you touch her throughout the day when sex isn't on the table. That gentle, exploratory, affectionate touch is exactly what women want more of during intimate moments. One woman described it beautifully. She said she wants her partner to touch her, like he's discovering her for the first time, with curiosity and wonder, not like he's following an instruction manual. This kind of attention does something powerful for a woman. It makes her feel desired in a complete way. It makes her feel beautiful and appreciated. And here's the important part. When you take time to focus on her entire body, you're actually building her arousal in a much more effective way than if you immediately focus on the more obvious areas. Women's arousal is cumulative. Each touch, each kiss, each moment of attention builds on the previous one. When you rush through this process, you're missing the entire foundation of her pleasure. So what does this look like? It means spending time kissing her neck, running your hands down her back, caressing her arms and legs, paying attention to areas that often get ignored. It means not always touching with sexual intent, but sometimes just touching to connect, to show affection, to communicate that you find every part of her attractive. Now, let's address something that came up constantly in my conversations. Women want you to be present in the moment, not distracted or performing. So many women told me that they can tell when their partner is somewhere else mentally during intimacy. Maybe he's thinking about work, or he's focused on his own performance, or he's worried about something completely unrelated. Whatever it is, that lack of presence is something women pick up on immediately, and it makes them feel disconnected. Being present means your mind is right there with her. You're noticing her responses, you're paying attention to how she's breathing, you're tuned into the connection between you. You're not thinking about what move to do next or whether you're doing everything right. You're just there, experiencing the moment together. Women also talked about how they can tell when a man is performing rather than genuinely connecting. What I mean by performing is when a man seems more focused on looking a certain way or doing things he thinks he's supposed to do, rather than actually responding to what's happening between them. It's like he's acting out a role rather than being authentic. Authenticity in the bedroom is incredibly attractive to women. They want to see that you're genuinely turned on by them, that you're enjoying yourself, that you're not just going through motions. They want to hear your breathing change, see your real reactions, feel your genuine desire. One of the most common complaints I heard was about men who are completely silent during intimacy. Women interpret this silence as either disinterest or disconnection. They want to hear that you're enjoying yourself, not necessarily constant talking, but authentic sounds and expressions that show you're present and engaged. Being present also means putting away distractions before intimate moments. Your phone should be nowhere near you. Your mind shouldn't be on tomorrow's meeting or yesterday's argument. This time is sacred, and women want to feel like you value it as much as they do. When you're truly present, intimacy becomes so much deeper and more satisfying for both of you. Here's something that might surprise you. Women want you to be confident but not arrogant. There's a delicate balance here that many men struggle with. On one hand, women are attracted to confidence in the bedroom. They want a partner who seems comfortable in their own skin, who isn't constantly seeking reassurance or apologizing. But on the other hand, they're turned off by arrogance, by a man who thinks he knows everything and isn't open to learning or adapting. So what's the difference? Confidence means you're comfortable with yourself and the situation. You're not overthinking every move or constantly questioning whether you're doing things right. You can be playful, spontaneous, and natural. But confidence doesn't mean you think you have nothing to learn. The most attractive kind of confidence, according to the women I spoke with, is when a man is secure enough to be teachable. He's confident in himself, but humble enough to recognize that every woman is different, and he doesn't know everything about this particular woman's preferences yet. Arrogance, on the other hand, is when a man assumes he knows what a woman wants without asking, when he's not open to feedback, when he acts like his way is the only way. Many women told me about experiences with partners who would do things a certain way, regardless of whether it was working for them, simply because they were convinced it should work. That kind of rigidity is the opposite of what women want. They want a partner who can be confident and take initiative, but who's also paying attention and willing to adjust based on their responses. Think of it like dancing. A confident dancer leads, but he's also constantly aware of his partner's movements and adjusting accordingly. An arrogant dancer just does his own thing and expects his partner to follow along regardless of whether it's working. Women also want you to be confident enough to not take things personally. If something isn't working, it's not a judgment of your worth as a man or a lover. It's just information that you can use to make the experience better. The most confident men are the ones who can handle feedback without becoming defensive. Finally, and this is perhaps the most important thing I learned from talking to all these women, they want you to make their pleasure a priority, not an afterthought. This seems obvious, but you'd be surprised how many women told me they feel like their pleasure is optional, something nice if it happens, but not the main focus. Here's what this really means. It's not enough to be interested in her pleasure only if it happens naturally or doesn't require any extra effort. Women want to be with someone who is genuinely invested in making sure they're satisfied, who sees their pleasure as just as important as his own. Many women described experiences where things would end once their partner finished, regardless of whether they had been satisfied, or situations where their partner would make a token effort at pleasing them, but would seem relieved or impatient if it took more than a few minutes. This communicates something very clear to a woman. It tells her that her pleasure isn't really important to you, that it's just something you're doing to get what you want. What women want instead is a partner who genuinely enjoys pleasing them, who isn't watching the clock or treating it like a chore. They want someone who understands that sometimes it takes time, and that's perfectly okay. They want a partner who's creative and attentive, who's willing to try different things to figure out what works for them. One woman told me that the best lovers she's had were men who seemed to get as much pleasure from her enjoyment as from their own. That's the mindset shift that makes all the difference. When you approach intimacy with the genuine goal of connecting with her and making sure she's satisfied, everything changes. It's not a performance or a task. It's something you truly want to do because you care about her and value her experience. And here's the beautiful truth. When women feel like their pleasure is truly prioritized, when they feel that emotional and physical connection we've been talking about, they become more open, more passionate, and more engaged. It creates a positive cycle where both partners are focused on each other's pleasure, and that's when intimacy becomes truly amazing. There you have it, the 7 things that came up again and again when I spoke to over 1,000 women about what they really want in bed. Take it slow and be patient. Create an emotional connection first. Communicate openly and ask them what they like. Focus on their whole body. Maintain a genuine presence in the moment. Be confident but humble, and make her pleasure a real priority. None of these things require special skills or techniques. They just require genuine care, attention, and a willingness to put her needs on the same level as yours. When you do these things, you're not just improving your intimate life. You're building a deeper connection that strengthens every aspect of your relationship. Subscribe. Have a great day.